Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be filming in my car, mostly to hide away from everyone inside. It's kind of difficult to film when everyone is home. It's very loud, and yeah, and I'm also awkward and I don't want them hearing me film. I'm not there yet with my comfort on camera, so this is where we're at. We're at in my car today. It's really hot in my car because I'm outside in a car and it's warm, but I really wanted to film a video anyway, so okay, this is where I'm going to talk about the books that I read in June. So without further ado, let's get started. I read 10 books this month. Pretty pumped about that. Way more than I thought, so pretty excited. My goal was at least 8, just so I could read 2 books a week to keep up with my Goodreads goal. So my goal is to read 100 books this year. I'm actually doing well. I'm pretty on track. I have 54, so I'm like 3 books ahead of my schedule. So I'm officially at 54 books. Pretty pumped. Read 10 in June. So let's go ahead and get started about the books that I read in June. Okay, so starting with, I'm just gonna go top to bottom. They're not gonna be in order, so it's fine. It's fine. It's just gonna be a quick wrap up, guys, because it's hot and I wanna get back inside and get this video up for you. So I read She Came to Sleigh, The Life and Times of Harriet Tubman by Erica Armstrong Dunbar. So I'm gonna put that up here. This was more of like an informal biography of Harriet Tubman, and I absolutely loved it. Haven't really read a biography about Harriet Tubman in decades at this point, like over a decade. I know that when I was in elementary school and like middle school, I always did my book reports and like nonfiction reading always about her. I always chose her as like my historical figure. So, or like if I had to read like a nonfiction book, I would usually pick a book about her. So I've read a lot of biographies about her in the past, so I had a good base knowledge of her life thus far, but this one was really cool to read as an adult. It had a little bit more about her personal life in it, that like little things that I didn't know, and then I was told in like a really informal way. So it wasn't like just like stating facts the whole time. It kind of almost read like historical fiction, which I thought was really cool. It was really good. It was pretty short. It was like 150 pages, so I did read it in a day. But it had pictures in it. It had like just kind of like informal little like tidbits and charts and stuff. But it was really good. I gave it a 5 out of 5, and I definitely recommend you pick it up. Really excited to watch the Harriet movie. They made a movie in 2019, I guess, about her life. Didn't know about it. I don't really keep up with TV, so therefore I didn't know. But I saw an ad on my TV for it, and now I really want to watch it because she is like my favorite historical figure ever. So yeah, excited to watch that now. So read this book. It's great. Let's move on. The next one I also did in my reading vlog, along with the She Came to Sleigh biography, was a memoir by Glennon Doyle called Untamed. So this was a memoir of she is a feminist and activist and writer, author, and this starts after she releases her first memoir, which is about like her loving family and, you know, being in a great marriage and, you know, faith and love and having a great marriage and kids and this awesome perfect life. And I don't know, I guess I didn't read it, but that's kind of like what she made it sound like in her book Untamed. And then this starts after the book was released, when she's actually on like talks and stuff, like promoting her memoir, and pretty much how her previous book sort of becomes a lie compared to like what she's living now, because she ends up getting divorced. So her marriage falls apart. They decide to end their marriage. She falls in love with a woman and gets married to a woman, and like her just kind of like finding herself again, rather than, you know, being in an unhappy marriage and just specifically like living for her kids and doing what she thinks she's supposed to be doing in the right way for, you know, her family and kids. And she kind of, you know, becomes herself, and it's all about her, you know, story of becoming and learning and progressing and doing what's right for her and making a new blended family. And I thought it was amazing. I think every woman should read this book. I think that no matter what, you will find something to like relate in with it. Even if you're not a wife, a mother, or, you know, or gay or whatever, it really doesn't matter. I think that if you're a woman, you'll relate to something in this. So I thought it was super important, really great, excellent, well done, raw, honest, truthful. Truthful, gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Everyone, just read this book. It was good. And not to mention, it is gorgeous. Look at this cover. It is like, everyone loves this cover. It's pretty. Okay, just read this book. Okay. So, next one I got here, I read a adorable short graphic novel called Princess Ever After by Katie O'Neill. Guys, this was so cute. It was basically a like new graphic novel fairy tale about a princess rescuing a princess and them falling in love, and then like a really great way to not only support like a female-female relationship in fairy tales, which you never see, but it's all about like it brings in those like parental pressures of growing up and like what your role is supposed to be. Like it has a prince who gets pressured to be like this strong, brave prince, and maybe like he's not feeling it. And then there was a princess who's like pressured to marry a specific man for the family, and like all of these like genderized like specific norms and stereotypes that they're supposed to do, and all of the characters fighting against them. So really short, sweet. The only thing I wished it was longer, so it's kind of sad when I got it in the mail and I realized how short it was. It's something you can read, you know, in a couple minutes or whatever. Not even a couple minutes, but like you can read it in a day. It's fine. But it was totally worth it. It's really cute, really sweet. Definitely going to read it with my daughter, and then like my kids can read it. So like my son can read it. And I think that would be like good for him to see, you know, cause you don't really see that in a lot of like kids books or fairy tales. And then read it with my daughter too, cause she also thought it was really sweet. So yeah, I gave that one a 5 out of 5 stars too. So we're rolling, we're on a good kick. All of these books are great. Read them this far. Let's get on to the next one. Okay, the next one I have was To the Stars Through Difficulty by Romelyn Tillman. This one I got like on my Kindle Unlimited subscription, so I read it for free on my Kindle Unlimited. It was okay. I think the story had a really good premise. It was about three different women in like rural Kansas, like this really, really small hick town. And they're all like end up getting interconnected with the Carnegie Library. They all have some sort of play on how they connect at this library. And it has a lot of really cool like information and like facts and stuff about the Carnegie Library. And I liked that. It had like the love for books all in it and all this cool factual knowledge of the like women's role, like how women like played a huge role in getting approval and getting like the necessary like donations and like startup money to get Andrew Carnegie to then come in and help with the rest and build these libraries in all these rural towns. So I thought it was really factual, but so the beginning I was like, oh man, I'm really gonna like this book, and then it kind of hit a slump, and then at the very end, like right when I was like, okay, I think I just need to DNF this, it all like picked up and happened at once. So I think pacing was a big issue in this book. I still thought it was good, but I think it could have been paced a little bit better, because like the ending was good and everything wrapped up well, but I think that there was like more that could have been focused. The actual like startup of everything all happening could have been stretched out over the book rather than this like slump of not really having anything happen. But it did the job. I liked it. I learned some facts about the library. It was about love of books and like really, really strong female friendships. Awesome. All about it. So I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. The next one I have was the Paris Hours by Alex George. This one is set in 1920s Paris. So like the Roaring 20s Paris. Ooh, 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 all glitz and glam. Except it's not about these famous like glitzy glammy figures. It's more about everyday characters who are just like living in that town, and then actual like famous authors and like celebrity figures like Hemingway and Josephine Baker and Gertrude Stein all kind of like appear in the background of this book, which was kind of neat. I thought that was a really interesting like spin and take on a book. And then it follows, it's actually like quadruple narrated by 4 different people and their whole story leading up to one big night in Paris. I thought the writing was beautiful. It was so good. It was kind of hard because there wasn't a lot of hope, I guess, in it. It was somewhat depressing. Not because like super, like, I don't know. But it was such beautiful writing, but at the same time, I felt like a disconnect from it, so I found myself like not wanting to just read through it. But it was beautiful writing. Everything kind of connected a little bit between each other, and then you have like these famous figures in the background. I was kind of bummed about the ending. Personally, I could see how you either love or hate this book, and I was kind of in the middle and unable to really, like, parts of it really, really loved, and then other aspects I was like, but I could see might just be a love or a hate. I gave it a 2.5 stars. Moving on. Okay, I had higher hopes. Maybe it's because I had such high expectations, but okay. Next book. Woo! Okay, next book. I was really excited. I picked up The Last Flight by Julie Clark. So I haven't read a psychological thriller in a long time, probably since all of like the Gone Girl and Sharp Objects and Gillian Flynn books, essentially, which were, whew, those are so good. And I think maybe I've like stayed away from it just because I'm not really like a thriller person. But it's kind of like hard to beat Gillian Flynn, like, let's be honest, okay? Like, her books were just like so phenomenal and like mind-blowing that like they're kind of hard to tap, and maybe that's why I stay away from psychological thrillers. But this one was good. Like after the preface was 3 pages long, okay? After the preface, I could not put this book down. It was so addictive. I lost hours of sleep. I was so tired at work from this book, but it was well worth it. I absolutely loved it. It was about 2 women. Let's actually get into what it's about, guys. Sorry, my bad, we're getting there. So it was about 2 women who both have these really troubled lives that like most people just don't see on the surface. There's a lot going on in the background. It seems like this picture perfect life. And one of the women is married to like a political dynasty figurehead, and she has this picture perfect life and like is super wealthy and rich and like very famous. And it's actually like she's in a very abusive relationship, so she makes a plan to run away and like start a whole new life from scratch and become a different person and like just completely run away and wash away from her life. And then there's another girl who is also doing the same, trying to run away and start a new life. And they meet at the airport and swap tickets last minute, like before they get on their flights, and then end up going to separate destinations. So what thinks is like, can you get away? And the whole premise is like trying to run away and start a new life, and if or if not, that would work. And it's just like this whole like dual narrative back and forth, like going back to explain their past, and then also like what's going on in the present and how everything happens because one of the planes crash. So yeah, it was really addictive, really good. Absolutely loved it. Gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. A little out there, but like aren't all like psychological thrillers. So, but it was a good read. It was a good time. The next one that I read, okay, The Body is Not an Apology, The Power of Radical Self-Love by Sonia Renee Taylor. This was also a really like quick read. I think I read it in like 2 days. It was pretty short. And it's just like all like, love your body, be you, be happy in your skin. Everyone has a body. You shouldn't be ashamed about it. You shouldn't let it rule your life on how you feel and how you act. And it was really good. I did not give it a rating just because it was a little bit more like a self-help, like educational book. So I personally didn't rate it. I would highly recommend it if that's like something that you struggle with. I think it's a book that I could pick up again if maybe I were like having a harder time or something and I just needed a little like, girl, love yourself refresher, like you're good. So yeah, I recommend it if you need a little like pick me up, love your body. It's great. We're all great. Moving on. Okay. The next one I did on an audiobook. It was When We Believed in Mermaids by Barbara O'Neill. I did this one on an audiobook. It was dual narrated by 2 sisters, and one sister, so essentially a sister thinks that her sister has been dead for like over a decade, like 15 years. And it turns out she actually ended up just disappearing and starting a new life. She finds this out by seeing her on TV, like she appears in the news, and she goes off to New Zealand to find her and finds her living this whole double life. Also a little out there. It wasn't like a psychological thriller. It was more like sister love and had a little romance sprinkled in there. The audiobook was also dual narrated, so not just like read by one person, it was read by 2 different people. I thought that was really cool. So you had those like 2 separate voices going back and forth. So it made it more like personalized. And like really like visualizing 2 separate sisters and characters. So I definitely recommend the audiobook for it. I thought the like writing was beautiful. It had a lot of like, it was a lot of, if you like the scenery writing, it was set in like California and New Zealand, by the ocean. So there was a lot of beautiful imagery written in it, and you know, like a super strong like sister bond and a little bit of romance sprinkled in there. I gave it a 3 stars. I thought it did the job. It was a great read or audiobook to listen to while I was cleaning. So yeah, I recommend that as an audiobook. I'm pretty picky on audiobooks. I get like super picky. If I don't like it right away, I just like can't even do it. So yeah, you can audiobook that one. Next one. What was the next book? Oh, the next 2 books were Regency romances. I blame Reagan from Peruse Project for me starting to read these, because she went on a whole Regency romance kick, and I was like, okay, like she really likes these, so maybe they're good. Maybe I should try and pick them up. To me, they are like my literary junk food is how I describe them. Like if you just need like something light and easy and fluffy to kind of like maybe like get you out of a slump, or if like you read like a super dark heavy book, then reading a Regency romance is like a little bit of like a little candy, a little junk food to kind of like get you back in the swing of things of reading. They're super light, super fast to read. So far I've only really read ones by Tessa Dare, so I read 2 Tessa Dare ones. The first one here was Romancing the Duke. This was the Castles Ever After #1. This one was really cute. It actually even had a little plot twist in the end, which I appreciated. Normally Tessa Dares don't like, they don't have like a big plot twist. But so for the Castles Ever After, all of these girls are essentially gifted a castle by a like great uncle. And it's a big deal back in the 1800s because women were not given property. So it gives them the ability to kind of like get out of the norm of having to rely on a husband and like fit that specific role. So this one, the Romancing the Duke, she's gifted a castle, but it's basic kind of on accident because a duke already lives there. He had a accident, and so he's mostly blind, so he's ignoring his mail, and his solicitors end up just selling his castle while he still lives there, because he hasn't communicated with anyone. And then, so it's them like kind of like doing that like witty banter, battle, romance, falling in love that we all like, that like little like frenemies thing. They're like wittily bantering, and she's trying to get the castle, he's trying to get her out of the castle, and then they fall in love, and it's cute, and it's like junk food. Like I said, it's just like gluttonous snacking. The next one I read was Say Yes to the Marquis. This one I really liked. I thought it was cool. I like, with all Tessa Dare's novels, it's more of like, it does have like a bit of a feminist, because they are in 1800s and they all kind of have their own thing that they want to do. And she had a really cool thing. She was gifted her castle. She had been engaged to a Marquis for like 8 years. He's been traveling around the world dodging her because they're not actually in love. She's never even really seen him. Everyone makes fun of her in society for not actually getting married yet. And like, when the heck are you gonna get married? And then she wants to, and then his brother comes in, so that's Rafe Brandon. He was a babe, and he comes in trying to, like, they were best friends throughout childhood, they were really close, and he tries to convince her to get married now that his brother's actually coming back. So kind of like a forbidden love thing, like that's probably frowned upon, like, you know, like going to his brother. But like, you gotta think that like she didn't actually really have a relationship with this fiance. He just like engaged and then like went away. And she was actually close with the other one and friends. So that was cool. She wanted to start a brewery, which was pretty neat. She like researched the like farming and like fielding and like fermentation process. So I thought it was cool that she wanted to start a brewery. I liked that one. I thought it was neat. So that was probably one of my favorites. So I also gave those 2 4 stars. I liked them. They were good. They're my little snacky junk food. Yeah, so I like reading those in between. That pretty much wraps it up, guys. 10 books. Go me, patting on the back. I actually had a pretty good month. I thought I had a lot of 5 stars. Normally I'm kind of, but there was a lot of 5 stars. It was very good. I hope you all enjoyed this. If you have not, please subscribe down below and click the thumbs up button if you liked it. Yeah, and let me know what you read this month in the comments. See ya!